I want to leave 2025 well. See, when I was in high school, a lot of you guys don't know this, but I was actually a theater kid. I was in a couple of plays, and one of the plays, I think I sent a video. I think I put a picture. Did I put a picture up there? I did put a picture up there, and that's okay. I know. Maybe I'll put it up at the end, and you guys can laugh at it. But I was in a play my junior year of high school, and it's a niche play. It was called "You Can't Take It With You." It was a really good play. And basically, it's about this rich family that spends their whole life chasing money and success and status and trying to protect everything they have. And it stars the daughter from that family, and the guy that she's married, who I played, who comes from a poor family. And this other family, right, they don't chase success. In fact, they aren't impressive. They aren't wealthy. They just live free. And they aren't trying to hold on to everything. In fact, they're generous. Everyone say generous. Generous. See, the message of the play is pretty simple. When your life is over, none of the stuff that you're clinging on to can go with you. At the beginning of the school year, and then even the beginning of the year, we talked about how we are dead in our sin. And that the old man is dead and we are made new. Everyone say new. New. See, so many of us have had incredible moments with God. And we've heard great things. We've had a lot of experiences with God, with camp, and 12 conference, and different ZEAL nights, and different prayer nights, and worship nights. And he was made known in our lives. Right? I think a lot of us walked away from those experiences believing that Jesus was real. But our next step, once we believe in something, he's made known in our lives, is to make him known with our lives. Guys, when it comes to Jesus, you can't take it with you. When it comes to being dead in our sin, when it comes to being made new, you cannot take it with you. Matthew chapter 8, you guys can turn there. The title of our message tonight is "Don't Take It With You." I'm gonna speak to you guys for about 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna release you guys. You guys can hang out. You guys can play Gaga Ball. You guys can play games. You guys can eat more Oreos, and then we'll convene at the end. But I just want 10 minutes of your time. Can I have 10 minutes? Yes. Yes, awesome. Okay, Matthew chapter 8. Let me get some context. Okay, so Jesus had just finished the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, all the way to Matthew chapter 7. And in this moment, he had drawn large crowds. I mean, he performed multiple miracles. Crowds were gathering because Jesus is impressive. Jesus was doing impressive stuff. They were resonating with his words. They felt something pulling on their hearts when he spoke to them. Does that sound familiar? Yes. That sounds familiar to a lot of us. But then comes the question. Now that they have felt that pulling in their hearts, are they actually ready to follow him? See, Jesus, he's around a bunch of different people, a huge crowd. And it picks up in verse 18. Excuse me. He said, when Jesus noticed the crowd around him, he ordered his disciples to go to the other side of the lake. A teacher of the law came to him. Another version says, a scribe came to him. A scribe is a teacher of the law. And he said, "Teacher, I am ready to go wherever you go." And Jesus responds with something peculiar. He says, foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lie down and rest. That's bars. What is he saying here? What is Jesus telling us? See, following Jesus requires self-denial, not convenience. What the scribe is really saying is, Jesus, I'll follow you as long as it's comfortable. And what Jesus is telling us here is he's not trying to attract followers. He's just revealing the cost. He's showing us there's a cost to this. He continues in verse 21 and then verse 22, which happens to be my favorite verse of all time. He says, another man who was a disciple said, Sir, first let me go back and bury my father. Now, a lot of your versions might start at verse 21 and say, the almost disciple. The would-be disciple. Verse 22, Jesus says this, again, very peculiar. Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. Peculiar. A lot of scholars, people who are much smarter than me, tell us that in this passage, Jesus isn't disrespecting family or friends or even a funeral. See, rather this phrase, let the dead bury their own dead. When he's actually the guy, the almost disciple, the believer, but not the follower, says, Jesus, I want to follow you, but later. See, when you follow Jesus, you can't take it with you. You can't have it both ways. So many of us are waiting until something else happens to follow God. A lot of us are saying, I'll follow Jesus once I stop messing up. I'll get serious about God after football season, after band season. I'll start reading my Bible when life slows down. I'll be bold about my faith when I'm older and I have a little bit more experience. I'll follow Jesus once I fix my habits, my anxiety, my friendships. But you can't take it with you. Here's my question for you guys today. What's one thing you keep telling Jesus? I will follow you, but first, let me blank. But first, could you just let me? When it comes to following Jesus, it must be immediate and above all else, even the good things. See, this semester we've heard a lot of great things. We've had a lot of experiences with God, but none of this equates to following Jesus. Experiencing God does not equal following God. See, in 2025, or 2026, this is my challenge for all of us. Every leader, every student that couldn't make it tonight, including myself. My challenge is to leave the things that are holding you back from pursuing God in 2025. In 2026, I am believing that we will not follow God, but we won't just follow God, but we'll act on what we believe in. We'll act on what we believe in. Following is not a belief. Following God is an action. We have to act on what we believe in. I want to leave you with this, Colossians chapter 4, verse 5 and 6. It says this, act wisely toward outsiders making the most of the opportunity. Your speech or your words should always be gracious and sprinkled with insight so that you may know how to respond to every person. My challenge in 2026 is this. Follow God with your words, with your actions, and with your relationships. And don't do this so that you can get closer to God, so that you can believe in God more. Because when you just start doing this, that'll be a byproduct. It'll be a byproduct of believing in Him more. Why? Because we'll be pursuing Him more. We'll be around Him more often. We'll be trying to look more like Him, and so we just naturally will be closer to Him. Do it. Follow God so that we can make God known with our lives. Colossians 4 doesn't say, act wisely towards those we're close with. Act wisely towards those that we go to the same church with. Act wisely towards those that we're in the same small group in. And it says, act wisely towards outsiders. God placed you at this church for a reason. And it was to equip you so that you would go out into the other places where God has placed you, in your works, in your schools, in your families, in your communities, in your neighborhoods, so that you would make God known with your lives. The purpose of not cussing isn't so that we might be closer to God. The purpose of not cussing is because it looks different than everybody else. The purpose of waiting until marriage isn't so that we can get closer to God. It's a byproduct, but the point is that it looks different than everybody else. Our goal shouldn't be to look like the circles around us and get comfortable in 2026. No, our goal in 26 should be to look different than everybody else. Look different. Amen. Be wise with your words. Be wise with your actions, and be wise with your relationships, so that those around you can follow God, and those around us will know God, and can experience God in the same way that you experience God, and have a testimony similar to your testimony, and find freedom in the same way that you found freedom. But all these things that we're praying for don't start with believing in God. I mean, they start with believing in God. But they don't get going until we start following Him. I can look at a cookbook all day, but unless I put the eggs in the bowl, and I put the flour in the bowl, and I put the sugars in the bowl, and I start making cookies, only then will I have cookies. Right now, we're praying for things. We're believing for things. We're hoping for things. We're going to act on it. We're going to start reading the cookbook. Start reading the book. So my question is for you guys today. What is one thing in 2025 that is keeping you from following God? What's keeping you not from believing in God? What's keeping you from following God? Tonight, we're not gonna have an altar moment. Instead, we're just gonna pray together as a church family. We're gonna have fun in the courtyard. We're gonna celebrate all that God has done in 2025. And by faith, we're gonna celebrate all that God is going to continue to do in 2026. But I want to encourage you. The best place to start with following God and to leave the things that were once dead is to have conversations.